5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This your boy T-Lo.
Yo, what's Gucci? This your man Tweet.
What up, y'all? DJ Kid Fresh.
What's up? It's your boy RL. And we're next. And you're rocking with the Rebirth every Monday at 7 p.m.
But you know the hits. Rebirth Radio, baby. Every Monday, 7 p.m. Shea and Eli. All right, rocking that old school. Peace.
Your host, Shea Marriott. And Eli Isabel. Philly Jam 95.3 FM.
Good evening. Welcome to the Rebirth on Philly Jams 95.3 FM. I'm your host, Shea Marriott. And listen, guys, tonight, I'm not even going to say he's a guest because he's family. He is family. Sitting next to me, I like to call him the thinker. But he is definitely a Rebirth favor. Joining me tonight is...
Corey Wilkerson. I don't get a chance to say my name too often.
Say it again.
Corey Wilkerson. I don't get a chance to say my name too often, but yeah.
What's up, Corey?
What's happening?
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, how's your Monday been?
It was rough. It was rough. Started off crazy. I was starving this morning. I got to work. That's like, I'm starving. I want to go back out and get something to eat. Line was super long. Had to come back. 2 of my supervisors called out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a lot going on. So
wow.
It was a lot going on. And that was before 10 o'clock this morning. So
yeah.
I had to chill out. You know?
So are you a breakfast person? Like you got to have your
Not
Wheaties?
all the time, but like sometimes when I'm hungry, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
okay.
It was just a tough morning.
You look like you get angry too if you hungry.
I get dysfunctional. I start short circuiting.
I get it.
I ain't gonna go crazy, but like, you probably want to leave me alone until you give me something.
Right.
Yeah,
I get it.
Sure.
I get it.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Well,
How was yours?
Yeah, man.
How was your Monday?
It was a Monday, and usually my Mondays are kind of chill. I like the chill vibe, but it has not been a chilled Monday. It was very busy. Yeah, it required a lot of mental energy. So my capacity tonight is kind of low.
Kind of low? We're going to see if we can even that out for you tonight.
Right.
You know what I mean? This should be like a distressor.
Yeah,
right? You know what I mean? You're like a celebrity too.
But
so
you
like,
know what? Here, there you go.
You kind of are. So like.
But here we go.
Do we have sympathy for celebrities out here? What is Kim Kardashian? I'm stressed. Are you okay?
But you know what? Here's how I look at it. These type of days remind me that I didn't practice self-care, right? And I'm not talking about, because I think we use that word like so, we just use it all the time.
Now,
yeah. And sometimes people, they'll say, oh, I'm going to get my nails done. That's self-care. No, it's not. It's not. That is not self-care. Yeah. It's just not. Not to me. I don't know. It's not self-care. Is getting your nails done self-care to y'all? It's maintenance. Exactly. It's maintenance. And that's how I look at it, because I always do that. I get my nails done. I get pedicures.
Fellas,
that's
watch how that's
maintenance.
itemized on the receipt. It's maintenance.
That's
it ain't
maintenance.
self-care.
That's right. It's maintenance. A write-off, actually.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
With that being said, it just reminded me that I needed to take some time for myself.
That's good.
It really did. And I did like an hour before I came here tonight. I was able to kind of, seclude myself a little bit and woosah. But I think I need like some time.
Yeah. Do you find time in your schedule to actually schedule time for you to relax? Can you do that?
Usually it's Mondays and Fridays, but unfortunately, it just it's just been crazy at work. So
I was watching this thing and they talked about sometimes you have to, something on LinkedIn I think I was watching, and they talked about sometimes you have to put it on your calendar.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
your work calendar.
Absolutely. I encourage my clients to do that. Yeah, I do. But no, I usually do.
Oh, okay. You usually
right?
do.
But
Okay.
it has just, like I said, it's just been a little bit crazy. My schedule has been hectic. But another thing, I'm usually not out all weekend. And this weekend, I was in the streets all weekend.
Okay.
All weekend. So good things. But I usually like to kind of chill at home, or if I do go out, it might be one night out of the weekend. But I was out all weekend, so and then I didn't get a chance to take today to kind of regroup and relax. With that being said, I want to give a shout out to Portia from Purpose PR Agency. She invited me to her 50th birthday party, 50 Shades of Chocolate, and it was absolutely beautiful.
Sound like
Had a
something you wanna
wonderful
go to.
time. Yeah, Portia was gorgeous. She was changing. I don't know how many outfits Portia changed into, but she was fabulous, and she looked like she was having a wonderful time. DJ Tim Dog was on the 1 and 2, so it was nice to kind of have that little reunion
that's
after a
what's up.
couple weeks from the Rebirth Live, and it was really nice. I love the different shades of chocolate, and from white chocolate to dark chocolate in regards to what you wore. So it was really nice. I had a good time. So again, happy 50th birthday
Happy
to
50th.
Portia. Yeah,
Shout out to her.
Yeah.
And celebrating yourself.
I know.
Now, is that
right?
maintenance or
That's
self-care,
it.
the party?
Honey, that's celebrating. That's
celebrating.
Yes.
That's another level.
That's a whole nother level.
All right,
that's turn
what's
up.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Shout out to her.
Yeah, absolutely. She deserves it. She works really hard over there. She's doing great things and representing some amazing people. So, again, happy 50th birthday. Yeah.
Oh, that's
How
what's
you
up.
practice self-care? Since we're talking about it.
I can't say that I'm necessarily good at it either. I think I'm always running for some reason, and I feel like if I'm sitting still, I'm not doing something. You know what I mean? So I don't think that I do it really well. I mean, I will say that when I get a chance to, I like to go on my walks. I think those are the times that I decompress and de-stress.
I did do that too. I did
You
that.
did?
I did that. When did I do that? I think I went out there Saturday morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What is wrong with her?
Yeah.
Jen, look. Okay, y'all. My assistant's over here acting a fool right now. I don't know what's going on with her. But yeah, I did that. Saturday morning. I think it was Saturday morning I went.
Oh, okay.
I just walked. Same area.
Same
Just
area?
walked,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
walked. Yeah, so
I went
it's
there,
important.
I don't know, Saturday or Sunday. One of them days I went out there, but I usually walk in my development. But so walking for sure is one of the things for me. Listening to music is one of the things for me. And just trying to relax. But to your point, I was kind of busy all weekend. Shout out to my aunt. She turned 95.
Oh, wow.
On the 24th, actually, but we celebrated her on Sunday. We all got together for a dinner party.
Nice.
95. She's full of spunk, has her right mind.
Go ahead, Auntie.
Yeah.
Auntie,
she did
what's her name?
Oh, my Aunt Betty. That's her name.
You have an Aunt Betty too?
I do.
I have an Aunt Betty. I love her to
do.
death.
Yeah, she's full of spunk. So my mom's sister, she came in, she did a little dance, a little shimmy.
That's what I'm
all
talking
that.
about.
So it was cool. It was good to see your family. And
Okay.
everybody kind of ate and caught up and took pictures and things like that. So that was cool.
Nice. Happy birthday, Aunt Betty. 95 years old. What a
95.
blessing.
Yeah, 95.
What a blessing.
And then my brother came from New York, so he was at the house, and we always it's more like my dad than my brother, but so we had a good long talk and got a chance to eat and just enjoy each other's company, what I mean,
Nice.
as men. So it was cool. I had a good weekend. But to your
Very
point, I didn't get
good.
a chance to relax. Once the family's gone and you just breathe, I didn't get that. I didn't get that. By the time I put the phone down and
Something
chilled
else.
out, I was starting to get up and go to work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's it.
And you got up hungry.
Starving.
And you didn't get nothing to eat.
Nothing.
Man.
Nothing.
Jeez.
Nothing.
Shout out to Sherry Mona. Hey, Sherry. We had lunch together or dinner. I don't remember which one it was, but at the Cheesecake Factory, and she
Y'all went to
turned
the
me
Cheesecake
on.
Factory?
We did.
What?
She turned me.
That's on the list?
She turned me on to Korean fried cauliflower. Oh my God, y'all. It was so delicious. It was so good. So I had the Korean fried cauliflower, their Brussels sprouts that was in some type of maple something, and lettuce wraps. I felt like I was eating healthy because it was all like vegetables, right?
Yeah.
And but it was so good. You like cauliflower?
Nah, but if you want to try that, I don't.
You gotta try it. I promise you, it's good.
I'm gonna try it. But shout out to the Cheesecake Factory. You know they were on that list that you can't take somebody. You ain't hear about the list? The first date list?
Oh no.
You ain't see what about the girl? You ain't see the thing with the girl?
I haven't seen.
I thought y'all talked about that. So they had there was a guy he took out, and the audience will correct me if I'm wrong. So he took a girl on a first date, right? And they get to the Cheesecake Factory. He gets out the car to go open the door. She refuses to get out the car.
Because
she was going to the Cheesecake Factory.
So I guess she's looking at Cheesecake Factory like they look at Red Lobster now.
Yeah. She wasn't going. She didn't get out the car.
These girls need to quit.
Right? So like, they came out with a whole list of things that you shouldn't do on a first date, and
it's not to go to the Cheesecake Factory.
You should have saw the list.
Bro, take me to the Cheesecake Factory, okay?
Should have saw the list.
I want some Korean fried cauliflowers.
Yeah, you can't.
Cauliflower.
Cheesecake
Cauliflower.
Factory. You couldn't go to the gym. You can't go to the movies on your first date. You can't go to your house. You can't. It was a whole list.
Church.
You can't go to church on your first date. That's kind of weird. But,
wow.
Yeah. Take your first date, but like. Yeah,
so.
I don't know.
I mean, those are okay. All right. So who came up with the list?
I mean, the Glorilla crew.
What is your Glorilla?
Let me stop playing. It was Sexy Red.
The one
her?
with the nasty lip gloss. She got nasty names for her lip gloss. No, I can't get with that.
I don't know. Was that who came out with the list? Oh, you just playing. Yeah, but it's like that new generation. Like it seems like it's just different. But like the list was crazy. Jen gonna send you the list, so you'll get a chance.
That is
to
crazy.
See it. Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome to the Rebirth again. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight we are going to be talking about moving beyond the scars, transforming family trauma. So here's the thing. We all know that trauma, everyone at some point in their life has experienced some sort of trauma, whether you know it or not.
Agreed.
And the other thing to that is trauma becomes so normalized that you don't even realize that you are experiencing trauma because it's your normalcy.
Yeah.
So, and I see that all the time because, again, when you first go into a session, your intake, we ask about the history of trauma. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't believe how many people will not identify certain things as trauma.
Very true. Very true. You think trauma has a negative definition for people, so that's why they can't connect to it? Or, because I think it's also what you said, like, it's normal. Like, we laugh all the time. Like, sometimes I post these videos of this black mom and, like, some of the things she does, some of the things she do in the house, and we laugh, but it's traumatic.
Right, but it was normal.
But it's normal.
It was normal.
Right? So like when you grow up and you do it to your kid and they looking at you like, what's wrong with you? But like that's what you normalize. You know what I mean? You hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So like if we talk about when we were the Rebirth Live and forget the gentleman's name that was talking about it, and he said that his mom said to him, well, ain't nothing wrong with you broke your arm, but ain't nothing wrong with your legs.
Brian B. Right.
Right? But like that's
that was
regular.
B. Right.
You know what I mean? So that's normal stuff. So one of the things that I was researching and it talks about, it says according to the National Survey of Children's Health, 46% of children have an adverse effect to childhood trauma, whether that be neglect, whether that be abuse, some type of trauma. And as far as adults, 70% of adults have experienced some form of PTSD. That's a lot,
have.
Right? And we just walking around here acting like we normal.
Yeah.
We might be the real aliens.
Yeah. I have definitely experienced PTSD, and I'll tell you what it was from. Because people wouldn't even think that. Oh, you know what? Well, I can share a little bit.
Okay.
I can share a little bit, but. We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit later. So you were talking about the ACE. That is actually an assessment we actually give. We try to give it to every child, especially in the urban. It's important, the adverse childhood experience, because again, we tend to rule out a lot of things that has happened in our childhood because we feel like, well, that's not who I am anymore. But what people don't know, if you experience trauma at an early age, let's say 9, let's throw that 9 out there. If you experience trauma at 9 years old, right? What happens is emotionally, your childhood, you know how we grow, right? Our developmental stages and stuff like that. So whatever age that you experience that trauma, you are stuck at that age emotionally. The rest of your body is growing, right? So this is why you hear a grown man, but inside is a little boy, or a grown woman inside is a little girl, because whatever that age was that it was interrupted, we stopped there. And Eric Erickson said you have to be considered to be, able to really cope like you're supposed to be able to. You have to go through those stages, those psychosocial stages, and if you don't, then you have to repeat it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a whole psychology thing. We can get into that another night. But people get stuck at the age that they were the trauma happened.
Yeah, that's why. So when you say those things like the little boy, the little girl, like that stuff is real. And I think sometimes you people toss it around like it is cliche or is it something that people say, but it stems from something super big.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And one of the fascinating things, so like to talk about the rebirth, right? So after we got done, there were so many people that reached out to me, whether it's texts or DMs or messengers. That's like, this happened to me also, right? And thanks for sharing your story, and they kind of talking about it, right? And then the other side, the surprising, like people in my family started reaching out.
Oh wow!
Right, and the crazy thing about it for me is that a lot of us grew up together, and you have no idea what's going on in your own family, right? And it doesn't, whether it's severe or not, just the fact that they're sharing those stories and like, this happened, or this is how this made me feel. Like I had no idea, right? And one of the things I was saying to one of my family members is like, wow, like we grew up together, but we are literally fighting either each other or people in the family when we could have been supporting each other because we suffer in silence.
We suffer in silence.
Yeah. So when you see people that are, you may say they always have a scowl on their face, or they're always angry, or they're distant. Some of that comes from some of the trauma, right? But we don't talk about it.
Right.
Especially in our community, right? We don't talk about it.
And why don't we talk about it?
What goes on in this house better stay in this house.
That's right.
I ain't going to embarrass Aunt Pat.
Or you better give it to God.
Yeah, or give it to God. Yeah,
you better pray about it.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Listen,
what did God say, right?
Right.
Yeah. So,
you didn't hear an answer? You didn't hear God? Well, you need to pray a little bit harder. Go back in that prayer room.
Right. Right.
I mean, it's real. We're being lighthearted about it, but no, this is real. I was actually just talking to a good friend of mine's. We were talking about, matter of fact, it was Michelle. We were talking about church trauma and how church trauma shows up. And that I didn't even know that that was something, that was even real until I became a therapist. And I started to notice people coming in with church trauma.
Church trauma?
Church trauma, yeah.
That's a thing?
It's a thing.
You have an example of church trauma?
I do. I do have an example. Okay. So you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Here it go.
Here it go.
Okay. So church trauma looks like, and I'm just gonna give you this makeup. It looks like a young lady that maybe have had a child, got pregnant out of wedlock, and is a member of the church. She's in the choir, she's in Sunday school, she's there, right? So she's a part of the church. She's not somebody that just visits. She's part of the body of the church. Yeah. Okay? And the church finds out that this young lady is pregnant, and they ask her to stand up in front of the congregation and ask for forgiveness.
Wow.
Right? Ask for forgiveness from the congregation. Right? And then pretty much ostracized her, made her feel, over there. She's not good enough. Fast forward, that lady is now a 50-something-year-old woman who unfortunately fell into the emotional eating and severely overweight. Right? Her trauma, caused her, she hoards, emotional eating. That's what it looks like. And it might come in looking like depression, but when you start to, unpeel the layers, right? This is why when somebody say, like they make a statement that maybe someone hurt them or they felt some type of way, we usually ask them, when was the last time or when was the first time you ever felt that?
Right.
Because if we had some type of reaction to something and it's bringing up something that has happened to us, so now it's our job to help you remember, when was the first time you felt like that?
Yeah.
And then people start to think and they be like, so if she felt embarrassed, if she felt, not good enough, and we're talking about work, me asking that question, when was the first time you felt like that? Who made you feel like that? It would trigger something in her past.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe it was church.
Yeah. The reason why I asked that question about, like, give me an example, and that's a big one. I never even thought about something like that, and I don't know if that's like old school or that's like they still doing that. Right? And I'm sure they probably
I think some churches, not all.
Yeah.
But during this time, this was, like I said, she's like, 54, 55 now. So this is when she was 16.
Wow.
When this happened to her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So I have church trauma. Right?
See? And you didn't even know it until I just told you what church trauma was.
I didn't label it.
Okay.
I didn't label it as trauma.
Okay. So let's talk about it. Look at me.
Look at you therapy.
I'm up here terrorizing you on a Monday night, raining out here.
So I was so this was like around the time that, maybe like a year after my daughter was born, right? And I was like, say I was heavy in the church, but I was going every Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was into it, right? So I was going every Sunday, and I think at the time I was off on Sundays, and my schedule got changed, and I had to start working.
Okay.
So I couldn't really go in the morning, and became a member of the church, and tithing and all of those things. So my schedule changed, so I wasn't able to go on Sundays, but I would jump in on Wednesdays and try to go, right? After, I don't know, maybe the 4th or 5th Sunday, I got a letter in the mail.
Not a letter.
And the letter in the mail said, it looks like you haven't been attending church.
Wow.
And they gave me a date that if I hadn't returned by that date, that I would not be a member of the church anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think my ex-wife still got the letter, right? Because she was shocked. Right? And I'm like, what the hell? So based off of my lack of ties, because I'm not there, right? I'm dismembering me.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So then if you connect that back to if I deal with rejection,
right,
abandonment,
right,
what do you think that's going to do? So we're in a body of Christ,
right,
and I'm supposed to be come as you are, and these are my people. They look like me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And based off of my schedule changing, I couldn't attend on a regular basis. But yeah, I got a letter, and it was like, I don't know, December 15th.
Oh, friend.
This over for you. You got to go back to new members class. I'm like, wow. Okay, well, we'll talk about this with the Lord.
Yeah.
Right?
So so really thinking back, how did it affect you?
I stopped going.
Where was your you stopped going?
To that church,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to that church. Just because I didn't get it. I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Based off, and then you sent me a letter to my house.
Yeah.
Like a letter. I was like, is this
I didn't
normal?
even know they had people in charge of doing that. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess whether they track tithes or whether they send for taxes, I don't know. But they had my address.
It's interesting.
Right? You know what I mean? And that bothered me for a long time. So
I'm sure it did.
So there's a level of trauma that comes with that. And that isolated incident, and then you attach it to the things that you probably go through in your life.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
for sure.
Yeah, that's a big one. Church trauma.
Church trauma.
That should be a topic.
Yep. It's real.
Yeah.
All right, who we got watching tonight? Shout out, hey mom. Mom, I made it in, Mom. She was with me, so she knew I was exhausted. I made it. What's up, Michelle Washington? Michelle said, Corey is hosting tonight. Let's go.
Michelle, what's up? Michelle, what's up?
Michelle, that's my girl. Michelle be talking. She be starting trouble, don't you, Michelle? She knows she do. She be starting trouble.
That's funny.
All right. So yes. So now we've identified church trauma is real. So early on, I said that I had experienced PTSD.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of people have experienced it within their relationships. And it could be something as simple as finding out that your spouse has done something to dishonor.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing about with how you find out or whatever it is that you're dealing with in your relationship, how you found out plays a big part in it becoming something traumatic. Because the act of it, period, that's trauma.
Yeah.
Because everything that you thought is not what it is, right? And then depending on how it showed up in your relationship, like if you either caught them together or you saw different things, or you read certain things, or you saw videos, whatever that is, it begins to ruminate. It continues. You continue to see it. So your body is constantly responding to that stress, right? So it started to show up for me physically. There was times where I felt like I was driving. I was driving my sons to I think they were in summer camp, and my chest became so heavy. I was sweating. My chest became so heavy, and I'm like, okay, God, just get me to the parking lot. I just need to get to the parking lot, right? Because I'm figuring if I can get to the parking lot, I can lay on the horn, somebody will come out, and at least they'll have my kids. And it was bad, and I thought I was having a heart attack. So I was able to get them in, but I was like kind of killed over. I got back in the car, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go straight to the emergency room. And you know how you pull up? Usually that's for the ambulance or whatever. I pulled my car up, left it running, and opened the door and kind of like fell out the door.
Oh, wow.
I thought I was having a heart attack. They thought I was having a heart attack, but it wasn't. I was having a panic attack. And I never ever in my life had ever experienced anything like that. But that is what stress looks like. It becomes somatic. So I recall having migraines all the time. I was getting checked for that. Like all my stress had just came physically. Everything was just coming out physically. My pressure went up. All kinds of stuff. And when you see things, you can't unsee it. So it's constantly in your mind. So it was PTSD, and it took a while for it to really go, because I would have triggers. If there was things that I like, hotels or something that I knew, whatever, I would have a trigger riding past. I couldn't go to Philly for a long time.
Really?
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Wow.
So, you know.
So how do you get that to subside, right? So is that like a therapy thing? Do you have to like talk to yourself and tell you what you're feeling is not real? I mean, because it's real for you because it happened, right? But do you have to like walk yourself through those moments when you were able to not be triggered that way anymore?
Yeah, so because I knew what was going on, I didn't realize what my body was going through. Like, how did we get on me? How did this become about me?
I don't know.
But anyway, that's right. We're supposed to expose some trauma that we may have had. I didn't have childhood trauma, but my trauma came at a very later age. So I think I had to really like say to myself, what would I say to my patient? What questions would I ask my patient? And I had to really sit with myself and really figure out what is it? What's causing me to have all these triggers? So I removed anything that would make me think about relationships, love, anything like that. I didn't listen to certain things. I didn't watch certain shows. I just removed a lot of things out of my life during that time that I knew I knew was triggers for me, and I kept myself in places where I could be inspired. You know what I'm saying? Rather that was just in silence, meditating. Rather it was watching, TD Jakes, Sarah Jakes, listening to certain motivational speakers. In the car, I only had inspirational music playing. Like, I just took everything out that was going to trigger me, and I really kind of focused on that, and I had to start focusing on my own self-love. Gotcha. And really understand what that meant. And eventually, I became less triggered, but it took some years. I felt like I was in that space for about 3 years. Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I think that we all experience, like I said, like 70% by PTSD to an extent. I think knowing where it comes from is super important. And I think the thing for me, even like when I shared the story at Rebirth, once you start talking about it, that's always been therapeutic for me, right? So people were shocked that I even talked about it in front of all those people, right? But I think it's therapeutic because I'm not ashamed of it, right? It's not a thing that I'm ashamed of. I think it's helpful because there's so many other people that are going through similar experiences or something like that is connected. So it's important that we find someone to share our stories with. Now, with that being said, not everybody's entitled to know your story. Right. So you have to do it in a safe space.
Right.
But I do think it's important that we are getting together and talking about it. And one of the things that sparked the conversation of the topic tonight is because what I find that we do really well is that we talk about what's happening, right? This is an issue, or Aunt Pat is this. I don't know why I always use Aunt Pat. I don't even have an Aunt Pat. Auntie's this, or brother is this, or dad, mom, whoever is this. The people in our family are friends, but we never really go fix it. What does it look like to fix it? How do we teach our community to stop being so triggered all the time? And how do we go address it, right? Because a lot of times we just talk about it to each other, right? To share the story. And the root of the issue is sitting in front of you in the room, but we never go and have that conversation. And that could be in big things and small things. So for me, what does it sound like to go have that conversation, whether it's with your partner, whether it's in your side of your family? How do you address the trauma, and how do we move forward? Or can you? Right? Because a lot of times we stay in bondage of this history. And I listen to this thing that says you can't, you're sick as your secrets.
Absolutely.
Right? So how do you share the story, and how can you be there for each other? Because you may not necessarily go to the person that caused it, but me and you may be able to have a conversation. You can walk me through it, right? And what are some steps that you can teach me to say, here's how we're going to address it? Or can we go together, right? Sometimes we want to be so involved until it's time to go deal with it, and be like, all right, well, let me know how that goes.
Right. I'll be right here in the car.
Right. And I share that also just like with my peer group inside of my family, right? Like we all have something that we carry. And my thing is, we have to break this generational curse of just trauma and pain and arguing with each other. And how do we just go address it? Now, the thing that I also notice is that the folks that we have these issues with are old school.
Right.
Sometimes they're our parents. Sometimes they're our people that are older than us, and they come from a different world. Yeah. Right? They come from the world of, excuse me? Who are you talking to? Those type of things. So there's a barrier just inside of having the conversation, right? And they don't have the tools necessarily back then to deal with some of the conflict resolution issues that we deal with today. So my thing is for us is like creating a platform to say, how do we fix these issues, right? When you just talked about the church trauma, right? That's a thing, and people comment and tell me like that's so real. But do we even talk about it? Or dare we talk about church and trauma and associating some of those things with it, right? Yeah. So, my question or my thing is, how do we put the tools in place to address these things? Or what can we give the audience to talk about? How do you address it?
So let me get to some of these comments. My mom says, you never told your mommy that, Shay.
Aw.
Don't awe her.
And she called you Shay.
Jen says, I feel like we don't go address it. I don't know, Jen, we don't have to address it. What did you mean? Wait a minute. I feel like we don't address it because we know they're not ready to receive
what we say.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. It's like the 8-foot monster in the room, right? And you may feel like you have the tools to, or you're ready to hear it, but they're not ready to receive what you're saying. Because what we want is ownership, right?
Yeah.
The cause of the problem sometimes is you want people to own the experience that they caused you. And one of the things that I heard this pastor say, or maybe he wasn't a pastor, and he talked about forgiveness. And the reason why it's so hard to forgive is because we're taking the responsibility for what happened. Right? So now we own it. So I forgive you. And I took the burden off of you and put it on me to forgive you. And that's why we can't forgive, because we don't want to give it
That's
up.
what they think.
That's what we think.
But that's not what's happening.
Correct.
It's really the opposite. We're giving people the power.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's taking your power back.
Yep.
So to answer your question, you can't work on anything you refuse to acknowledge. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people's trauma is so deep that they have actually convinced themselves that the story they tell others is real, and that story really isn't real.
Yeah.
And people truly believe it.
Yeah.
Perfect example was Kirk Franklin's mom.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
She denied 2 DNA tests.
Or 98% actually.
2 of them.
Yeah, 2
right?
of them. Yeah.
And she still was in denial. But he realized, and I saw him on a different interview, he said it sat with him. He realized that she had convinced herself that what she said is real in order for her to be able to even exist in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I have to paint this picture or put myself in this world that really isn't real, but is what I said happened. So it's real now because I've said it so many times. If you constantly say certain things to yourself and you know, eventually you're going to start to believe it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
So you think about somebody that has very low self-esteem and they look in the mirror and they say, I'm ugly, I'm not attractive. How many times have that person said that to themselves? They truly believe it. And they could be drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter how many times you tell them they're gorgeous or they're beautiful or handsome. If they don't see that, if they don't believe it, it doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's the same thing with trauma. So we take that same concept with trauma. No matter how much you've been in a relationship with someone that may have experienced trauma before, right? Toxic or whatever. No matter how many times you tell this person, yo, you need to go get help, or yo, something's not right with you, you know. If they feel that this is who they are, they're operating in a healthy manner, they don't understand what you're saying. They don't see it.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't see it. It's not. It takes a place of safety. You know, the ability to actually say I'm tired of experiencing and feeling what I'm feeling, and I'm open to learn something different for it to be changed.
Yeah.
If not, then it's part of life. Y'all crazy, not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all the one have the problem, not me.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. That's where it starts.
Yeah. And talking about you telling that person this is what happened or this is my experience with you on the other side of you. It you know, so I guess that's why they say that, you know, forgiveness and peace is for you, not the other person. Because sometimes you do have to let it go. But you don't have to do that alone either, right? And I think that what stuck with me for a long time, since Rebirth actually, is that we all are walking around here operating in some sort of pain and not really going to solve for it. So that's a big deal. That's a big
Absolutely.
deal.
And sometimes you don't, again, I have to go back to, if you're not able to identify it yourself, you don't realize it.
Yeah.
Because you've been operating, and I hope my message is coming across clear, because you've been operating in this dysfunction for so long that it's your normalcy, but others see that it's dysfunction.
Yeah.
You're looking at them like there's nothing wrong with my life.
Yeah,
what are you
yeah.
talking about?
Right.
It's always been like this. This is how I always been, right? But you never stop to think about why you're like that.
Yeah.
You may have been like that for a long time, but why?
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right because you've been dealing with it for so long. Have we not stopped to investigate the why? Why am I this way?
Yeah. Yeah, very true. What about when you have to go talk to your elders about some of the trauma, right? Because you may be having an awakening to say, you know what, this happened and this is how I feel, and I just want to kind of get some clarity on it from somebody that's older than me, or even, you know, your parents, or somebody that you have high respect for or high regard for. But you can't convince them of your experience.
Yeah.
Right? And they're very much stuck on, no, this is what I had to do to make sure this happened, or I don't see it that way. And then we still walk around hurt based off of the fact that they just won't acknowledge it. You know what I mean? And I see that a lot just inside of adults or our experiences, and they want to go attack the issue, and not attack is a bad word, but go address the issue to move forward, but they're stuck.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, my advice, you know, even just to parents out there, or just some of the elders, like, go check on your kids. Go check on your kids. Go have that conversation with them. And again, I'm not saying like this is like the wildest stories. It could be just something as how you punished them, or how you spoke to them, or how you wasn't there. You know, one of the things I will tell you, my biggest teachers are my children. And my children are very very just honest, right? And my daughter said to me the other day, she says, we were talking about not trauma bonds. What we were talking about? We were talking about it the other day.
We talk about a lot.
No, it was the we were gonna do the show on it.
Attachment
styles, right? And we were talking about that. So like she goes through this whole attachment style thing, right? And she goes through this whole thing, and she says, "You know where my attachment style comes from?" I said, "Well, what is it?" That was my question to her. Like, where does that come from with me? Like, with she's like, she has a piece of me and her mom, right? And she says, "You know, because you used to work so much." And I never, and I know I did, right?
Yeah.
But you automatically go and think like, I'm working to provide for you, and I got this going on, and I got to make sure this happens. But there's always something that there's a spin off of that. So her just telling me that, we had a really good conversation, and she's just, you know, she's so intelligent, right? So like some of the things that they say, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that was your experience, right? So how do you go and course correct that for them, right? So they're learning, but they may not take the time to tell you.
Yeah.
Or they don't have the words to tell you. What I'm gonna tell Dad, like he can't go to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even though we have a great relationship, but some of those outtakes and some of the things that we just normally do affect people in different ways. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's good right there. So one of the things I like to use, and I share this with my clients, is people that's in your circle, the people that see you the most, they spend time with you the most, they're around you. This could be family, friends, it could be work, co-workers, right? Ask them, how do they experience you? And you have to be willing to sit there and listen. And you let them know, I want you to tell me the good and the bad. Yeah. And this exercise is really life-changing for a lot of people. I've seen people actually, it boosts their self-esteem, but then I've seen people where they broke down crying because they had no idea they were so offensive to others. They had no idea. And you know, and it taught them a lot about themselves and who we think we're showing people. That's not what people are getting from us. Right? So how do you experience me is really, really important. And being ready to get that feedback. So our generation that is ahead of us, because I'm older than you, but our generation that is ahead of us right now, I don't think they're going to have an issue with mental health because they are very adamant they have their top 3 things, and one of them is a therapist, and they will let you know, oh, I got my therapist. I'm going to see my therapist. Yeah. So, you know, it's really funny because I've seen a few, and they be like, oh, there go my therapist. And I'm like, shh.
That's crazy.
It was like, no, So I think they're good with the mental health thing. Now, take our generation and our parents. That's where the breakdown comes, right? But even with our generation, we may still have some old ways of thinking, but we are being forced. Mental health is being forced down our throats. Right, on TV, you know, on the radio, you know, it's everywhere now. So we are like, our generation is like, okay, there's something to this. Right. Perhaps this is why you hear so many people talking about trauma. Because we realize that them butt whoopings was trauma. They were traumatic, you know? So I think the breakdown between our generation and before, that's where the healing has to take place.
100%. Agreed.
For sure.
Agreed.
Definitely. And we have to be okay with the elders not wanting to address their trauma because they don't realize that it's trauma.
Yeah, very true.
It's what happened in their day.
Yeah.
That was common. I had one girl tell me when she told her mother, she wasn't a client, y'all, so I'm not putting my client's business out there. But this young lady was sharing with me, she said when she told her mother that she was sexually assaulted, her mom said to her, oh, join the crowd. We all have been. Like it was almost a rites of passage.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that is exactly how, you know, that's how it's been. And then you didn't have anybody to talk to because, as we said earlier in the show, it was pray about it, talk to God, or what happens in this house stays in this house.
Yeah, for sure.
So they lived all these years with secrets. So if they are at a space where they feel like they cannot acknowledge what happened, you got to be okay with, okay, I tried, I can't get you to, and then you decide where that relationship is. Like Kirk Franklin said, I can't continue a relationship because she's not acknowledging that, and I need that. That's all he wanted. He just wanted her to acknowledge it and validate it.
Yeah.
She could have said, you know, well, son, yes, that is true, but I really thought it was this person. She said that the DNA test was wrong.
Yeah.
They wasn't real.
Yeah.
So how do you even...
Twice.
How do you even, like he said, how do you even love unacknowledged trauma?
Yeah. So how do you think they show up in our relationships every day? And again, this doesn't necessarily always mean romantic relationships. You could be inside of your family, relationships you have with your children, or just your friends, or even at work, right? How do you think that those situations kind of show up? Because I think that, we were talking about, keep going back to Rebirth, and I made the statement is be careful of what you think protection looks like.
Right. Yeah,
right?
That was deep.
So protection looks like a lot of different things when somebody that could potentially have went through trauma. Protection could look like control, right? And you feel safe inside of that, but that's not safe for them, right? That's their trauma response to protecting and keeping control of X, right? So what feels good to you could be detrimental for them. You know what I mean? So like, how does those things sometimes show up inside of your relationships with just people in certain ways?
In so many ways. And it also, so your attachment styles is actually mixed into this as well, because that also shows up, right? So it can show up in a lot of ways. It can show up with someone that is just avoidant. They, they have avoidant behavior. This person may be afraid of commitments. Or they may love, but just somehow down the line they find themselves messing up again, right? So, someone that is doing something like this most likely probably have experienced some type of trauma where, I'll use a male. If it's a male, they probably saw their father do the same thing. And, you know, they're pretty much playing it out, right? But then you may have a female, it may show up with her just being very promiscuous, looking for love. Every person that she's dating, she's in love with. This is the one. And it's not, right? And then it becomes very enabling. Not enabling, very dependent. So don't want to be by herself. Don't want to, you know, go out with the girls. Always want to be under her man, right? If he does leave, she throws a fit. It's an abandonment issue. It's a guilt trip. Can't get out the door because if you go out, that means you don't love me, you know? So it may show up like that. Then you just have, I mean, those are two that off the top of my head that I definitely know. Then you have situations where the person is maybe a disrespect, right? So for a man, it might look like just verbal abuse towards the wife or girlfriend, maybe name calling, just have a very low standard of, you know, probably had some issues with his mom, right? Or some authoritative figure that was a female has made him feel like that. And then for women, it might look like walking over, emasculating, you know, I don't need you, you know, that type of behavior, emasculating the man, being very rude. I hate to see a woman do that to a man. I cannot, like, I literally have to walk away. Otherwise,
you gonna get in it?
I feel like, it's just, I just don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't know what it is about that for me. I just like, oh my God. You know? That's crazy. That's crazy. So it could show up in a lot of ways. And I think the biggest one is, too, the controlling thing.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't come across as controlling. And I think that we just all, because I think that as I raise my children, I try to like make sure that I give them, we have good conversations around some of these things. Because I think we have to go heal that make sure we're protecting that generation that didn't protect us. You know what I mean? You know, I think you touched on something that's real big, like you saying the healing has to happen with the generation before us and us. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And just kind of figuring out what those things look like. I remember I saw a while ago, a therapist was talking to me about writing letters. And he said, you know, write a letter to the folks that you have this issue with and give them 60 days to respond. And then after 60 days, if they don't respond, you have to park it and let it go. Right? And that was powerful for me because it got all your thoughts out. You were able to address it, right? And talk about what that experience is uninterrupted, especially with the generation before us. Right? And some people did respond. Right? And then it gives you the pathway to have the conversation. And some people didn't. Right? And here's the thing. That's okay. Because I released it after that. You released it. Right? Because the difficult part is having the courage to go say something about it. You know what I mean? And then once that happens, you're able to kind of walk in a different path. Right? Because there's no more eggshells. Because sometimes the power is in the room with you. Right. You ever walk in a room and you see the person you have an issue with? Right. And they rob you of your experience. And now you done shut down. You in the room eating potato salad at the kitchen table and everybody else is outside. Right? And sometimes when you address it and you're at least able to get it off, then you can exist. Sometimes they take that from us. And you must relive it when you see them again. Right?
Absolutely.
Right? Because what are they seeing in me and what am I seeing in them? Or you're having that
for sure
warfare.
For sure.
So, I think again, those things are super important. as we kind of just navigate through this thing called life. In my
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah. So I think too, and again, trauma is such a huge topic.
Yeah.
It really is. This would take multiple conversations, and honestly, I'm really thinking about doing a trauma for Rebirth Live. Yeah. So, because I think that's something that we've all experienced, and maybe some people can come out and really be able to identify if they like, wow, that was traumatic.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it.
No. Yeah.
No.
And I always laugh at just this black community just because of the things that we go through that we think is hilarious, but it is traumatic. You know what I mean? You talk about the beatings and we'll go around and broadcast it like, yo, that's how you correct your child. Like, they ain't gonna act up with me.
Yeah.
I wish you see somebody act up in a story, you're like, if that was me, right? He wouldn't act up no more. Right?
Listen,
right? So
my mom would just squeeze my hand, but my mom would tell you she didn't have to beat me. I was a good girl. I was good. My mom would squeeze. Shay. Listen, she would squeeze my hand really tight. And I knew that was some act up. Get right.
Yeah.
That was the get right squeeze. So
my mom just gave me a look.
But I seen some of my cousins being abused.
Yeah.
When I look at it now, and you had to go out there and pick your own switch.
Yeah, you gotta pick the murder weapon, and you better get a good switch.
I'm telling you,
right?
Yeah.
You better get a good switch.
Yeah. But I think the more that we talk about it, the more people are they're going to therapy. People are uncovering and they're discovering that I did have some trauma. You know, I shouldn't have been sleeping in the same bed as such and such. You know, I didn't realize that I was being molested. I thought that they was just, you know what I'm saying? It's like so many different things start to come up in conversation when people start to say, hey, that wasn't normal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That wasn't normal. But I also want to say this. If we don't heal it, we're not responsible for what happened, but we're responsible for healing from it.
Yeah.
If we don't heal it, we will continue to be in relationships with the same type of people that caused our trauma.
Yeah.
If you were raised by someone that was narcissist, you are going to most likely be in narcissistic relationships or friendships.
Yeah.
Right? You tend to kind of be drawn to the same behavior. So it's hard, and that's why it's so important to acknowledge it, to be able to see it, because if you don't, it continues to show up in your life. Your trauma is there to teach you something, and if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to continue to experience it in different areas of your life.
Yeah. How important is it to have a good circle around you?
Oh, it's very important.
Right.
It's very important.
I think that is, as what I've found just inside of my life, like my friends have also become my family, right? And they've also helped raise me to look at things differently and challenge me in certain ways. And remember, I wrote this. Well, I don't even think my brother even has Facebook. And I wrote a message to my brother when he hung out this weekend. And, he was probably he probably is one of my biggest teachers. And I said, even in the message, I didn't always listen. Right? But we are always able to go have a conversation. He's always able to pull my coattails. So you have to have people around you that are willing to pull.
Absolutely.
I think they said on the I think Bishop said it, right? If you can't tell me the truth, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But that's reciprocal. Well, you have to be able to do that both ways.
Absolutely.
Right? And the people that you have in your life, they should be able to pull up on you and talk to you about it. And I was listening to this thing, and the lady said, be careful in the women that you date, for men. If she doesn't have any elders in her life, you got to be careful.
Because she needs someone to learn from.
Correct. And for men too, right? We have to be accountable to another man, or we have to be accountable to ourselves. So
That was something else Bishop had mentioned.
Yeah,
he said
he did.
every man needs to be accountable to another man.
For sure. Yeah.
Needs to submit. That's the word
Yeah.
he used.
Yeah.
They need to submit to another man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, look at your circle. Who are those folks? But also, the people that are in your circle, I think taking what you said, one of the things you said you use in your sessions is, what is your experience on the other side of me?
Yeah.
I don't know how you worded it. Is that how you worded it?
How do you experience
How you
me?
experience
Yeah.
me, right? And I think that's super important in a safe space for people to go have that conversation.
Yeah.
And just be open to it, because it doesn't mean like it's an ending of your relationship. It's just an awakening, right? And you should have that, because you don't want to walk around upsetting people, or you don't want to, or misrepresenting yourself, because your intention and how you show up may necessarily be how you're projecting on other people. They may not receive it the same way. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to do an assessment of your relationships and how you're showing up. You always have to make sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's.
And the only person that can't do that is a narcissist. They can't do an assessment of themselves because it's not them. It's you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not them.
We gotta
So
narcissism.
So when you have somebody that just can't see themselves, they possibly could be a narcissist or have some very strong narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can disconnect from that. Well, we talked about this before, like that word, because that might be like, I don't know if y'all done a show on narcissism.
A while ago.
So I think sometimes it is overused, right? Like everybody's a narcissist just because I don't agree with you.
Yeah, just like everybody do self-care.
Yeah,
and they don't.
Right. But again, like I said, it's important to do exactly what you said. How do you experience me, or what is your experience on the other side? So that's good.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep. Good show.
Good show. Good.
Listen,
I feel like I interviewed you.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna look back at this and I'm gonna be like, oh man, did I say that?
Got you.
Did I say that? What was I thinking?
No, that was good.
No, it's all good. I don't have a problem talking about my trauma because that's where Rebirth was born.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah,
I remember
that's
I heard
where
you say
Rebirth
that on
was
one
born.
of the
panels
that we,
live.
not the panel. I think we were doing like the warm ups for the show, and you talked about it. I think it's probably the first time I heard you say that. That was awesome though.
Yeah.
So many good things are birthed out of pain or birthed out of trauma,
man.
right? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So.
Yup. What's the saying? Turn my pain into purpose.
Yeah. Turn your
Yeah.
pain into purpose.
Yup.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in tonight. So listen, to end
Yeah, right,
this
Jen.
segment.
I'm practicing all the.
Yeah, he good. Yeah. So I'm not gonna put it out there. I'm not putting it out there yet.
Go ahead.
No. Can I? No.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, y'all. So listen. Listen. Corey Wilkerson is now a certified life coach.
Yeah.
Yes. So look, that's right. Big ups. No, seriously, congratulations, because I know that I love talking to you, and I like to hear your perspectives, and of course, if it's something I don't agree with, I'm gonna say no, I don't agree. I'll say it,
She definitely will.
That's
She does it so nice though. She'll be like, well. She'll throw the well, let me think about it like this. Like, that was so nice. Look at you.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for you. I really am, because I think that you're very good at what you do.
Yeah.
You're good at what you do, and I think that needs to be shared. I truly do believe that that's your purpose.
Yeah, I do so.
I do. And sometimes we find out, not calling you old though, because I'm just saying.
Listen,
I ain't
that's
calling
why
you
I
old.
sent you the list
But
of the people that started businesses at 45. I don't even know if I have the list. I gotta find it now.
Some people don't find their purpose until later in life.
That's it.
And that's okay.
It's a fact. It is.
That is okay. I'd rather for you to find it than to never have found it at all.
True.
So,
True. Yeah.
But this is definitely where
What's the
you're
list?
supposed to be.
Henry Ford started Ford at 40. Real Torque
Wow.
M, 41. Christian Dior, 41. Sam Walton, 44. Bob Parsons started GoDaddy, 47. Bill Porter, 63. Right, so the list goes on and on. I think Colonel Sanders was on there. Like these folks were well into the past their, I don't know what the pass is, right? Who passed their 40s when they started their second career. And I think that you just have to really connect to that. That's what it was for me, right? Like, you know, always wanting to, and that's birthed out of trauma.
Yep.
Right? Wanting to know the answers to this, or being able to listen, or just asking questions, right? So, for me, that was important for me to complete that, and I definitely did. So
I'm excited. So when are you going to start taking your I know I'm throwing. When are you going to start opening up your client list?
I don't know. We gotta talk about what that looks like, Jen.
Okay.
Jen and Shea. But we're gonna figure that out. We're gonna have to pour another one of these. But we're gonna figure that out.
Sparkling cranberry juice.
Yeah, but I appreciate you and your conversations with me around that, right? I think that you're very purposeful in the conversations that you have with me and the things that you said, and that helps, right? You have to be around good people that are going to inspire some of those things in you, and I think like we talked about it before. Like,
wait, something just hit me. I'm not an elder to you, am I?
No, not at all. Not an elder to me, but I think that, right? Like, how many years ago? I mean, I wasn't associated with Rebirth a few years ago, right? So I think in God's timing, those things happen. And again, your circle may change. Your circle at 30 doesn't look like your circle at 41.
Right.
Right? And I think that, being around you or being around all of y'all really is just being at that panel, right? And the people that you talk to and the conversations that you have, your circle will change, and it's all for a purpose and a reason. I don't take any, I do believe it's all God and how I wasn't ready to not come to grips because I already knew, but like meet my birth mom 5 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So all of those things happen when you're prepared, and God will not put anything on you that you can't handle. Right? So I had to be in a certain season of my life to complete certain things or meet certain people, because otherwise I would have just shunned you off. Like, right? Like, or, Rebirth is this, it's just a little show thing, but it's not that anymore, right? And you're meeting people and being around certain things, and, I thank you for believing in me and encouraging me, and it's all my friends that have done that, but it's time for me to do that, so I'm
You are so welcome. I enjoyed learning about you, learning who you are, how you think, how you move. Thank you for saying yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I really appreciate it. I know there's going to be a day you're going to have to tell me no, and I'm going to take it like a big, like a big girl. But, it really is for growth, because I feel like, I'm constantly growing. I'm a student of life, and whatever I can share, whatever I know, I'm going to share. I'm about you going to the next level and pushing people to the next level. People that are on my Rebirth team, I love them. I don't expect them to be with me forever. They're gonna, do their own thing, and and that I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm okay with that, right? Yeah. So, but I'm excited for you. I really want to I want you to start up.
Yeah. We're
gonna get it together for you.
We are.
Yeah. All right, guys. I know we went over a little bit, but listen, love is love. Thank you guys for tuning in. As we're going out, we are going to give you some resources that you can use when it comes down to trauma. The first one is The Body Keeps the Score. That was a book that actually we had to read as therapists. It's a very, very good book. I actually have it at the house now, and I still go back to it. And it just tells you, pretty much talks about how, trauma, how it affects our bodies, and we don't really realize what it's doing, but your body do keep a score. Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving. That's by Pete Walker. The next one is Healing Trauma, Pioneering Program for Restoring the Wisdom of Your Body. That's by Peter Law. The Deepest Well, I believe, is the next one. Nadine Burke Harris. And we have one called It Didn't Start With You.
Yeah, I read that book. That's a good one.
That was good?
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. Mark Woolen. The Connected Child, bring hope and healing to your adoptive family. It's good. Hold Me Tight, 7 Conversations for a Lifetime of Love by Sue Johnson. And the last one is The Body Remembers. Walking Tiger. Oh, did I miss that one? Okay. Oh, The Walking Tiger. I'm sorry, y'all. Healing Trauma. Yeah, so resources that have been provided. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Tasha, for getting the pictures and everything up. Yeah, check these out. I'm sure you can find all of these on Amazon. Any last minute words?
Yeah, I think the resources that was put up tonight are awesome, but I think that sometimes we underestimate the people that are around us that can help us. I went to this workshop, and it was a professional workshop, but they also talked about it was naming, actually, is what it was, and they talked about sometimes the answer is in your circle, and we don't share our goals and our dreams with the people that are close to us, and who knows, somebody in your circle could be able to help you. Right? Somebody may be wanting to give you a blessing that you didn't think about. So sometimes you have to be able to share it with those people, and you know who it is, right? Like God gives us our instincts and our intuition for a reason, right? And sometimes you get to people and you're just around them all the time, but like, what are we doing for each other? We're just hanging out, eating all the time, right?
Right. Right.
But if I never shared with Shea what my aspirations were, right? Maybe I wouldn't have been on the Rebirth, or she wouldn't have had the conversation that helped me push over the edge to just go ahead and complete the certification. So I think those things are super important. Share it with your circle. If you need to go have a conversation inside of your family, get with that person that you and ask for help.
You know what? And the funny thing about it too, because as you said earlier, I know we already over, but when you said that, it just reminded me, like, we knew who each other were when we were on The Hottest Live. But we were on 2 separate shows. I knew of you. I know we followed each other, but you and I had never had a conversation.
Yeah, very true.
You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy because sometimes the people that come into your life later or at like you don't expect, there's a blessing behind that.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So now I know that I'm in your circle. So hey, shout out, I'm in your circle. But I would Tasha crazy. But I just got in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just got in there. So my point is, sometimes it's the person you least expected to make a footprint on your life, and that person does, and you made a footprint on my life. So I learned just as much from you as you do from me. So it's appreciative. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in tonight. Guys, we are approaching November. November 1st is Wednesday. And we are going to rock out the rest of this month because every December, we take a break for the holiday for Rebirth Podcast. So November is really going to be a month where we're going to set the tone of what your 2024 is going to look like. Last week, we talked about setting boundaries. Tonight, we're talking about addressing trauma, and I feel like we can still talk a little bit more about that. But one of the things that you said was, why don't we? Well, you said about sharing, talking about it, and I think we don't share because a lot of things we're embarrassed with shame. It makes it real that we're sharing it. So I want to continue to have these conversations for the month of November because when we leave here, we want to make sure that we're leaving you with resources. We're able to help you identify some of the things that you want to change before 2024 comes in. So thank you guys for tuning in. Next week, we will be back. And Corey, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Y'all have a blessed week. Good night.
See y'all.